Hello, viewing several. Here we are again, back with the next stop on the Lana line with Chemtrails over the Country Club. No, that was more, the red arrows with colourful smoke over Pall Mall, Buckingham Palace. But yeah, it's fine. It's close enough. Cue the thing.
I'm 37. What? I'm 37. I'm not old.
So yeah, we're finally back with the Lana album. Getting close now to being, up to date. I think I've only got a couple left, and then we have new material, like a new album coming out in November, I think. So I just wanted to be caught up on that sort of stuff by then. And obviously I'll have to check out more, stuff that doesn't feature on the albums, more live performances, that kind of stuff. But yeah, enough waffle, let's crack on. Chemtrails over the Country Club. It's a lovely register to start off.
Business conference down in Orlando. I was only 19. Down at the Minute Music Business Conference. I only mentioned it 'cause it was such a scene, and I felt seen.
Right. Okay. It's really interesting because I don't think I've ever heard a track by her where she's consistently in that high register. I mean, when you get to that chorus, that feels like it's on the verge of cracking all the time, but it doesn't. Just being that high, and it's still a lovely sound, but there's that strange tension there where it feels like the voice could crack at any moment. Yeah, that's interesting. I've not heard this kind of vocal from her, I don't think. Particularly not this much.
Summer, sizzling, listening to jazz up on the lawn. Like, look how I got this. Look how I got this. Just sitting in the street. Down at the Minute Music Business Conference. I felt free 'cause I was only 19. Such a scene.
It's so delicate. Even musically. The piano and the little effects there added, even the drumming, everything is really, really soft.
Summer's almost gone. We were talking about life. We were sitting outside till dawn. 'Cause it made me feel like a god.
That build,
It made me feel like a god. When I was a waitress wearing a white dress, like how I do this.
Even the build up there with the drums didn't build up to a big finish, it just stayed in that same soft place. That is an interesting opener. So soft, so subtle, and again the consistent vocal that was throughout. I mean, every now and then she would slip back into a more familiar, tone. But yeah, having that persistent, really really high vocal and such subtle instrumentation, and that weird that moment where it built, it felt like it was subtly building with the drums, but it didn't like blow up. That's starting off an album that way. It gives me a sense, I think, of what I'm in for. Beautiful sound, really interesting. Just keep going.
I'm on the run with you, my sweet love. There's nothing wrong. Contemplating God under the chemtrails over the country club. Wearing our jewels in the swimming pool. Me and my sister just playing it cool under the chemtrails over the country club. Take out your turquoise and all of your jewels. Go to the market.
Some more familiar vocal here. Love the effect as well on the chorus, I'm guessing.
My moon's in Leo, my Cancer is sun. You won't play, fun. Well, I don't care what they think. Drag racing my little red sports car. I'm not unhinged or unhappy. I'm just wild. I'm on the run with you, my sweet love. There's nothing wrong. Contemplating God under the chemtrails over the country club. Wearing our jewels in the swimming pool. Me and my sister just playing it cool under the chemtrails over the country club.
Okay. I really like that effect in the chorus, like that layering and that sort of almost robotic distortion to it. It's really interesting because in pretty much every other previous album, at least to an extent, I always got that cinematic feel and quality, like particularly when you had use of strings and I don't know, it just had that sort of vibe to a lot of it. This feels a lot more minimalistic almost, and still cinematic, I guess, but kind of in an indie cinema way. I feel like this could be accompanying a low budget, maybe shot in black and white, just taking my cue from the cover there, low key drama. It's really interesting because it feels very subtle. Like there's no big sounds or big energy coming from it so far.
Meet you for coffee at the elementary schools. We laugh about nothing as the summer gets cool. Out in the wind, on in the water. Nobody's son, nobody's daughter. Watching the chemtrails over the country club.
I really like that too, that I can't do it, but you know, that.
Baby, what I've been white picking chemtrails over the country club. My love, it's never too late, baby, so don't give up. It's never too late, baby, so.
And again, we have this really subtle build, but it's not becoming like a big wall of sound, it's just washing over the vocal. And always with that really subtle.
My Cancer is sun and my Leo is moon.
This is an interesting outro, just to have like a drum solo essentially, but the most sort of subtle and like, you know, it's a really interesting outro there to have, you know, that much time just dedicated to the little again, really soft, really subtle, almost making no sound at all. Yeah, a comment about like indie cinema feels like it might still hold, in the sense that it feels like it's not experimental, but yeah, it's managing to be engaging and involving without big sound and without dramatic flares in the production. It's all, at the moment at least, I'm only 2 tracks in, but at the moment it's just, it's very, very, very low key, very soft, very gentle.
You should stay real close to Jesus. Keep that bottle in your hand, my man. Find your way back to my bed again. Sing me like a Bible hymn. We should go back to our cases. Drink this body for the can of gin. Like a little piece of heaven. I'm a candle in the wind. You should come back to our place, baby. Don't be afraid of the love on the 2nd floor, darling. In a second flight, hurry up. 'Cause down in Arkansas, the stores are all closed. Kids in their hoodies, they dance super slow. But white hot forever. And only the love. You should stay real close to Jesus. Keep that bottle in your hand, my man. Find your way back to my bed again. Sing me like a Bible hymn. We should go back to our Kansas. Drink this body for the can of gin. Like a little piece of heaven. I'm a candle in the wind. White hot forever and ever and ever, amen. Good, I come.
Yeah, okay, again, we've still got that really, really subtle, soft sound with the use of the beat and the melody that's being used as well, the rhythm of it. It's interesting, you know, it's nice, but I don't know, there's something, it shifted a little bit just then with the White Hot Forever refrain, with a different sort of effect coming in the vocal, but it does feel very, the thought I was trying to gather before on Chemtrails was, I have a concern that it's going to become somewhat monotonous, similar to the kind of feeling I got at some point during Ultraviolence. Just, I don't know, I don't expect there to be big shifts in sound or whatever, or lots of fancy stuff going on in the production or anything, but just generally the tone and the feel of it just feels, there's not a huge amount happening, and lyrically I'm not getting a lot. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with it, genuinely nothing wrong with it, but it's not, you know, it's not popping for me right now, anyway.
Come back to the ranch, baby.
yeah, I'm just not. There were moments there where I found it quite interesting. I liked that refrain with the White Heart Forever and the way it sort of these other elements came in, but again, overall, it's just I don't know what it is at the minute. I'm just not quite clicking. It's not really making me think or feel much. I'm appreciating the vocal. Like I say, I don't mind the fact that it has this sort of subtle, soft overtone, like throughout. At least, admittedly, I'm only a few tracks in, but I don't know. There's just not, at the moment, at least, there's something not quite hitting with me.
I come from a small town, how about you? I only mention it 'cause I'm ready to leave LA, and I want you to come. 80 miles north or south will do. I don't care where, as long as you're with me, and I'm with you, and you let me love you like a woman. Let me hold you like a baby. Let me shine like a diamond. Let me be who I'm meant to be. Talk to me in poems and songs. Don't make me be bittersweet. Let me love you like a woman. Let me hold you like a baby. Let me hold you like a baby.
I'm liking the production choice again with the piano and that little effect that came in at the end of the chorus. This sort of vocal mode and this sort of pace is I quite like this because there's the element of actual like storytelling there. Now it's not telling a particularly new or I guess original story, but I like the way that it's expressed. Maybe it's something about the earlier tracks that, or at least the last one, where I didn't feel like I was quite getting the overall vibe or the message of it somehow. Whereas this is pretty straightforward, but it's said in a very pleasing way with that vocal and that rhythm and the melody that's used. It's really nice to listen to.
I come from a small town far away. I only mention it 'cause I'm ready to leave LA, and I want you to come. We could get lost in the purple rain, talk about the good old days. We could get high on some pink champagne. Baby, let me count the ways. Let me love you like a woman. Let me hold you like a
Lovely harmonising there.
baby. Let me shine like a diamond. Let me be who I'm meant to be. Touching me in songs and poets. Don't make me be bittersweet. Let me love you
It's a lovely
like
sound.
a woman.
Yeah, okay. So that one, I felt that one a little bit more, I think, than at least Tulsa Jesus Freak. But maybe it's just because of the style of how the music, how it was composed, the production and her vocal. It had a straightforward story to tell, but it told it very well, and particularly there when you had that lovely harmonising with the higher vocal and her lower register. It just had a pleasing rhythm and a general flow that was just easy to get into and to go along with. Again, not groundbreaking, but good, an enjoyable track.
What would you do if I told you you made me crazy? Calabasas escaped all the ashes, ran into the dark, and it made me wild, wild, wild at heart. The cameras had flashes, they caused the car crashes, but I'm not a star. If you love me, you love me, 'cause I'm wild, wild at heart. If they love me, they'll love me, 'cause I'm wild, wild at heart.
Again, I'm liking the shifts where you have her familiar vocal and that rhythm and sort of simple storytelling really, but with really nice instrumentation with the guitar, and then there where the vocal went sort of down into sort of a more raspy register for the wild, wild at heart. And again, it's a very straightforward story being told and a familiar setting, but it's really well communicated, and the way that the song flows is easy to go along with and doesn't have much in the way of, you know, big dramatic shifts in terms of the production. It has still that low, soft, even quality to it, but it's, you know, it's an enjoyable listen.
What would you do if I wouldn't sing for them no more? Like you heard, I was out in the bars drinking Jack and Coke, going crazy for anyone who would listen to my stories, babe.
That's interesting.
I think about leaving, but you know that I never do, just 'cause you keep me believing. I love you lots despite the odds. You're killing me, child.
Like that whispery effect.
And that's okay too. If you love me, you love me, 'cause I'm wild.
There's such a mixture of vocal. At the moment where it was like it was like spoken in the verse, and then you have these blends of different styles that harmonize and different effects that come in. And now we have this choral effect coming in.
If they love me, they love me, 'cause I'm wild, wild at heart. If they love me, they love me, 'cause I'm wild, wild at heart.
Yeah, that was probably, in terms of like production and sound towards the end, that was probably the most sort of loud, I guess, or sort of the biggest sound we've had, I think, so far. And again, I really basically my second guitar fell over, knocked over the light, and yeah, that was a weird. Anyway, what was I rambling about? Who knows? Yeah, the vocal effect, that those mixtures of different vocal styles, whether they were being layered on top of each other, or the way she'd shift from, you know, that sort of syncopated spoken word part in the second verse, and even the shift from verse to chorus in terms of like the melody and the tonality of it, that was really interesting. I like that one.
It's dark but just a game, that's what he would say to me. The faces aren't the same, but their stories all end tragically. Sweet
Loving the tone of the guitar.
and that's the price of fame, a tale as old as time used to be. Sweet whatever, baby.
Okay.
To think exceptions to the rule, just walk around like you and me this way. But life is sweet, whatever, baby. You've gotta take them for what they got. And while the whole world is crazy, we're getting high in the parking lot. We keep changing all the time. The best ones lost their minds, so I'm not gonna change. I'll stay the same. No rose left on the vines. Don't even want what's mine, much less the fame. It's
Liked the unexpected inclusion of that little beat drop, and then the shift into just letting the beat and everything else fall away, have the really, really subtle guitar, and just the vocal that feels more stripped back, with little to no sort of effect on it. Or it didn't feel like, anyway. It feels like a more naked vocal, with a lovely tone to it. It feels like another one where there's a little bit more experimentation going on, and even when the sound feels a little bit more, obvious and more sort of, again, the word loud isn't the right word, but when you had that beat drop, it feels like, oh, okay, we're picking up tempo, we're picking up in terms of just the sound, I guess. It's still very subtle, it's still very, very gentle in its delivery.
dark, but just a game. It's dark, but just a game.
Ooh, what's going on here?
It's dark, but just a game. So play it like a symphony.
The choices in the sound and the production are really interesting.
Ain't got a lot to say, but nothing came from either one but pain. Fuck it. Life is sweet while we're ever, baby. Don't ever think it's not. While the whole world is crazy, we're making out in the parking lot. It's dark, but just a game. It's dark, but just a game. It's dark, but just.
Okay, that's really interesting, because loads of little shifts, lots of subtle little shifts in tone, production choices that I could never have predicted, in terms of like the shift in the vocal or the rhythm of it, or the inclusion of different sounds and different effects. That was really interesting. That one definitely kept you guessing, and I liked the overall, just, I don't know, the tone and the vibe of that one, even because it felt consistent, even though there were all these different shifts happening.
I've been wearing the same damn clothes for 3 damn days. Lincoln, Nebraska's got me in a haze. The thing about men like you is you got a lot to say, but will you stay? You say you got my name on your tattoo, opening up doors, pulling out just look at you. You talk to God like I do. I think you know the same secrets that I do. I'm talking about not others who wonder how lost, not others who wonder how lost, not others who wonder, others who wonder, others who wonder are lost.
I love that. I love that lyric. The title, "Not all those who wander are lost." And again, vocally, whenever she shifts into that higher register, it's always just a really nice sound. It doesn't feel like it's straining or, grating in any way. It's a lovely tone. And again, just the simple, subtle rhythm with the acoustic guitar. Yeah, I like I don't know what anxiety I had early on about the fact that the vibe and the tone was going to be so low key, and that it would become I don't know, monotonous, I suppose. But it's not that, because even if songs don't have big shifts or big dramatic changes in them, and they are fairly straightforward in terms of the story they're telling or the way that it's, you know, composed, you know, her vocal ability and the way that she puts these things together, it makes it compelling. You know, it makes it interesting and worth listening to.
Just wanderlust. The thing about being on the road is there's too much time to think about seasons of old as you pour yourself a drink. 'Cause every time I said no, it wasn't quite what I meaned, if you know what I mean.
The instrumentation as well across pretty much all the tracks is very interesting. All the little, again, whether it's the subtle drums or those guitars just then.
Just wanderlust.
I like that play on words as well, by the way. Really love the tone and the feel of the guitars that have been going throughout. Yeah, again, a very simple and interesting concept, but told really well. Lovely vocals, like I said. The instrumentation I really liked. The tone of the guitars when they came out, that blink, little plinky sound with a steady beat of the acoustic, and just the overall feeling and the message of it. Not all those who wander are lost. It's just wanderlust. It's a really nice track.
Seasons may change, but we won't change. Isn't it sweet how we know that already? Winter to spring, spring back to fall. Isn't it cool how nothing here changes at all? You make me feel I'm invincible, just like I wanted. No more candle in the wind. It's not like I'm invisible, not like before when I was burning at both ends. We did it for fun, we did it for free. I did it for you, you did it for me. We did it for the right reasons. We did it for the right.
I'm really enjoying the moments where you have those shifts in vocal going high again, but managing to stay in that really high register without it like grating or cracking at all, and having that shift again back into the chorus, and very simple story being told through the lyrics, and again the music carrying it through with a lovely tone to the guitar, and her vocal, whether it stays in one place or it shifts, is the thing that's, I think, carrying me through the whole album. Is that she's such a wonderful person to listen to. And it doesn't matter what story's being told, or what's going on in any individual song, her vocal is always really compelling and carries you through. And like I say, the subtle and interesting little choices in the production and with the instrumentation, it's really cool.
Seasons may change, but we won't change. Honey, you make me feel I'm invincible.
The shift that you have here, where it almost becomes ethereal. I'm loving the tone of the guitar again, the different plucking styles going on simultaneously. This is fascinating. I'm loving the production choices with this old style radio vocal effect.
We've done it for fun, we've done it for free. I showed up for you, you showed up for me. We did it for the right reasons.
Just the run she goes on. Again, her vocals are just lovely.
When I was young till eternity, I'll do it for the right reasons.
Yeah, again, all the choices in the production, those subtle little effects, the tone of the plucking guitar, and the fact that you had those shifts in her vocal, with whatever register she was singing, it was beautiful. Again, I feel silly for having the kind of anxieties I had at the beginning of the album, because again, the tone remains very, very soft, very, dramatic and like showy. But at the same time, there's a lot of fun little experimentations with sound, and as has been the case, I think, with every album so far, she's very much doing what she wants to do. At least that's what comes across.
Breaking up slowly is a hard thing to do. I love you only, but it's making me blue. So don't send me flowers like you always do. It's hard to be lonely, but it's the right thing. Are these my good years, or do I have none? Are there really good years for everyone? I don't wanna live with a life of regret. I don't wanna end up like Tammy Wynette. 'Cause breaking up slowly is a hard thing to do. I love you only, but it's making me blue. So don't send me flowers like you always do. It's hard to be lonely, but it's the right thing to do.
Apologies, I do have to look up who the hell that is. Okay, country singer Nikki Lane. Apologies, I'm not familiar with her. I mean, her vocal and her style is, that makes sense. seems very country. It's lovely. I mean, the melody here is great, and I'm loving the general tone, and I like the lyrics and the vibe that it's giving off. I like the message. It's just really pleasing to the ear, especially when both their voices came together. Yeah, okay, sorry, but I just wasn't sure because it didn't have it labelled here for some reason who was featuring. But yeah, Nikki Lane's vocal's great.
Got arrested out on the lawn. We might be breaking up after this song. Will he still love me long after I'm gone? Did he see it coming all along? I love you only, and it's making me blue. So don't send me flowers like you always do. It's hard to be lonely, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, lyrically and tonally, I really, really enjoyed that. I love the vocal from her and from Nikki Lane. Just that line alone was just really, I just loved it. It's hard to be lonely, but it's the right thing to do. It's, yeah, there haven't been many moments, I'll be honest, through the album where the lyrics have really communicated to me, like directly, and really got me, but that one definitely did.
I'm covering Joni and I'm dancing with John. Stevie's calling on the telephone. Court almost burnt down my home. But God, it feels good not to be alone. But sometimes this ranch feels like my only friend. And life doesn't always work out like we planned. We keep it moving, babe. So we made it back in the middle of the night to the Louisiana two-step high and bright. That we won't say when, we won't ask why, and we won't stop dancing till we die. I'll keep walking on the sunny side, and we won't stop dancing till we die.
Again, the production choices are great, very subtle, very like sweet sounding, with the little inflections with the guitar and the really subtle sort of string effect, and as always her vocal is gorgeous, and the vibe and the message of it not too difficult to interpret, but yeah, just again, I feel really silly for having the anxieties I did at the beginning, because even if it's not getting me pumped up or even getting me emotional, it's still a really enjoyable listen, and it still has a lot of really unexpected little twists and turns here and there, and a lot happening that keeps you, engaged.
Troubled by my circumstance, burdened by the weight of fame. Clementine's not just a fruit, it's my daughter's chosen name. And we won't stop dancing till we die. I went down a woodside. I left Berkeley out of city, out of mind, killing it, talking shit. Joan said she was gonna quit, tearing it
That's cheeky. I mean, that kind of a shift and then coming back to this.
Stop dancing till we die. And we won't stop dancing till we die.
Lovely harmonies to end on. God, what a see, those kind of little shifts that you don't see coming, that sudden like chop up into the complete change in style and rhythm, and a vocal became probably the harshest or the grittiest and sort of rawest that I've heard so far, certainly on this album, and it's not like a vocal style I've heard much, I think, in any of her other ones. It's really interesting. I really enjoyed that one.
I slept last night in a good hotel. I went shopping today for jewels. The wind rushed around in a dirty town, and the children let out from their school. I was standing on a noisy corner, waiting for the walking green. Across the street he stood, and he played real good on his clarinet for free.
Tone of this is really interesting. Love of the vocal that she's using here and the production. I don't know why it doesn't. Hang on a second. Oh, it's okay. Right, I thought that something about the piano and something about it reminded me of something else, but it's a Joni Mitchell song. Okay. Featuring Zella Day and Weyes Blood. I'm not familiar with them, but okay. I do like it when Lana does covers, because I like the ones that she's picked so far that I've listened to. Yeah, this style of songwriting and this kind of storytelling suits her beautifully.
Now me, I play for fortunes and those velvet curtain calls. The one man band by the quick lunch stand, he's been playing real good for free.
I realise now the vocal at the beginning obviously wasn't Lana's, and now there's like 3-part harmonies I think coming in here with the featured artists. It's a lovely sound.
Nobody stopped to hear him, though he played so sweet and high. They knew he had never been on their TV, so they passed his music by.
What a note to end on. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what my anxiety was, I'll be honest. At the beginning, something like after track 3, I just got this fear that things were going to become, I don't know, monotonous or tedious or whatever. I'm not sure where that came from, but it was unfounded because, like I say, even if the tone and the overall vibe of it stayed fairly consistent, there was always some real interesting stuff happening, both vocally and in terms of the production, that just made it compelling and made it something worth listening to and really paying attention to. And I think that my sort of analogy about it being cinematic and it being like almost like an indie experimental film, I think I'll stick with that because again it has that sort of feel to it where this could be like a low-key independent or experimental even film that you admire and appreciate because of the artistry in making it, even if it isn't something that you'll necessarily come back to again and again, or isn't particularly exciting or whatever. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles going on that to hold your attention. It's still beautifully constructed and full of little surprises and interesting choices that keep you engaged and keep you involved. That's the general feel I get with it, actually, because again it feels very deliberate, like with Norman fucking Rockwell. Like with everything, it feels like Lana just does what she wants to do, and that could mean that songs have really dramatic and strange shifts in terms of like the production and the tempo. Her vocals can go anywhere within the space of a single song, and she always gets really interesting and featured artists, like that last track in particular. Beautiful cover of a great song by one of the greatest songwriters ever. And yeah, the featured artists always bring something to the table without taking anything away from her, and the whole tone and vibe of the album is just really interesting and really beautiful, but subtle. As far as the standout tracks go, I think I'll plumb for these ones. Yes, still enjoying my Lana journey. I don't think there's been many moments throughout the albums where I've felt, let down or felt like she doesn't deliver something. There's always something interesting. There's always something to appreciate, and her vocals and her choices when it comes to production are never not, engaging or moving, or there's always something to get your teeth into with it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. How does this rate for you as far as the other albums are concerned? Did you have any fears or anxieties about the tone or about the vibe of it from the outset, or was that just my weird little hang-up? I suspect it is. Thanks as always for watching. Please like it, comment, do that thing you do, and yeah, goodbye forever.
Will you shut up, huh?
Ah, now we see the violence inherent in the system.
Shut up! Oh,
Come and see the violence inherent in the system. Help, help, I'm being repressed.
bloody peasant!